Right, hello. I thought I'd make a little video just to make a suggestion for guitarists who want an amp setup that will fit in a backpack and be loud enough to play with a band with backline only style gigs or in a rehearsal room, i.e. be able to play at the volume with a drummer and a bassist and perhaps another guitarist and someone's singing or screaming or whatever. So I've got two preamp pedals, but sort of more importantly is the power amp, rack mount power amps, which you can fit in a backpack. And if you're like me and you're happy walking around TK Maxx with a tape measure in the rucksack section to find the right rucksack, it's fine. They're both. So this is the Macht 400 power amp by Palmer, and that's the GPA 400 Harley Benton power amp. They're both very similar. Harley Benton's lighter. Advantage with the Macht 400 as far as portability, you can unbolt the little rack mount wings on it so that it fits easier and sits better in a backpack. The reason I have both is not because I'm one of these guitar YouTube people with stacks of gear for no reason. It's because I bought this one on eBay, so I think they're about 270 quid maybe new. I think I bought it for about 140 off this fella. He sends it to me. Every lost it. They refunded the seller. They refunded me. Then weeks later they found it again and sent it to me. The seller said, "Keep it. It's a bonus for free." Nice one. Cheers, mate. And then in the meantime, I'd bought this one because I needed a power amp for a rehearsal. They're both very similar, as I say. They're Class D, and they're kind of named after the 400 watt output, which they both give at 4 ohms. And they've got two. So there's two. They're both stereo. I've only used them in mono, but they're both stereo. So it's 200 watt per side at 4 ohms. And they're Class D, so which means they're light, but they also, you don't want them. It's not like having a valve power amp where you can just gun it and it's going to be happy with a distorted power amp. The little LED things in the middle will start flicking red at the top if it's clipping the power amp. So you have to take a bit of care when you're setting up the preamps and the levels coming off your pedals and through your preamps that you're not overloading it. But I've sort of had a chance to try them out a bit now, and we had a couple of gigs where I lent them to. I was helping running the sound and lent them to some of the guitarists. So to play, and this was a gig in a small venue with just the back line, so no miking, no DIing of the guitars, and loud kind of punk type stuff. And they both did well. We were running them. I think it was the one. I think it was this one we were using for mostly, and that was running through a Marshall 4x12 at 4 ohms, and that was grand. That was lovely. I've tried running them at 200 watts at 4 ohms into a 8 ohm cab, which then gives you sort of its equivalent of like 100 watts. And that you'll be heard. That's not a problem. You will be heard with a band. But for me personally, I like things to just be really, really loud. And with both of these, you've got a mode where you can bridge the two stereo sides together and sort of run them in parallel, I guess. That's not technically correct, but you can run them together in some way where you get your full 400 watts at 8 ohms, and that is really, really beautifully loud. That's what you want. That's ideal. But the attraction of them was that they're kind of marketed, these power amps, that you can pair them with any type of cab, as in a 16A or a 4 ohm cab. You've got to be careful if you've got your 400 watts running. Obviously you've got to make sure the speakers are going to be able to take that, because that is obviously pretty loud. The preamps, so these two preamps this is an AMT, which is a sort of Russian company. I wouldn't normally buy something from Russia, but that was off eBay for 60 quid from a UK seller, and he's hardly used it, so I jumped on that. And this weirdly is similar. It's a Lightkeeper from Canada. I don't think you can get them anymore. There's not. I think they did a short run of them. That was like 280 quid. And they've just got one single like preamp valve in them, so it gives them a bit of warmth, but you won't get like even a rock sound out of them. You might get a blues sound. There's a bit of breakup in them. The tube steader one, the Lightkeeper, is really nice. A really nice sound in that way. It's really warm, sort of vintagey sound, beautiful. This one is not beautiful. It's fine. It's just like a bit of breakup, but you can kind of. It's just the reason I'm using these ones is just to be able to have a preamp that you've got your tone controls, but it was also raising the level of the signal to be the right level to hit a power amp. So you couldn't use like just a standard distortion pedal or anything for that. You need an actual preamp, and they both work fine. I mean, there's no particular reason either one's on either one. You could swap them over, no problem. They're both very similar. In terms of the power amps, the Macht has some more. It's got a fan in it, and it's a bit heavier. This guy is lighter. They work nicely. There's nothing sexy about it really. It's just a loud, clean sound. And then, like many things in life, you sort of get out of it what you put into it. So whatever pedals and gubbins you want to run into it is what you'll get out. We've used at one gig a guy bought he turned up with a modular, so we didn't bother with the preamp pedal, just plugged straight into the back on the input with his modular. Off he went. There's a switch on the back of this one, high, medium, low input. It's medium seems to be the best one. But yeah, it's just a sort of cheap and dirty way of getting a loud amount of volume out of your guitar. And I'm aware, obviously, when you're borrowing cabs, that the speakers are going to make the sound a lot more in some ways than the power amp, or as much. But this is sort of as far as I can get. If you don't want to have to drive a van around, or a car with speakers and heads that are going to make you loud enough to be heard with a band, this is the best option. I'm not going to do any sound samples because it's pointless on YouTube. You need to hear it in a room to hear what we're talking about. And if you're playing in your mum's spare room, you don't need the volume. It doesn't matter. You can play for a distortion pedal plugged into a tin can. It doesn't really matter. But these will get you loud enough to be heard in the band. They're flexible with different cabs, and they're very cheap. As I say, much cheaper than the Orange Pedal Baby or the Seymour Duncan ones. Yeah. Let me know any comments or questions. Just let me know.